Now I'm going to take y'all back a little bit.
All right.
No, don't take us back too far.
I'm going to take you back a long way. I found part of our family, Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. We have a long line of Jerrys in Georgia. So we need another George, and another Jerry somewhere. But they came over. It was a woman as far as back as I. Now this was from an ex-slave. And I heard it out of her mouth. She talked about a woman named Granny. She never did tell us what Granny's name was. She would tell how Granny told how pretty the old country was, about the rivers, how pretty the water was in the river. And when they came over, it was her and her two daughters. I'm trying to find where they came over, what they settled when they came over. But they sold the daughters off from her. And she wouldn't work, she wouldn't do nothing. They beat her so they had to just lay her in a sheet. Because the old master told him he didn't want him to kill her. She was too good a woman for him to kill. And he asked her, what is your problem? She said, how can I work and do anything and I don't know what happened to my kids? He got on his horse, went and found those girls and brought them to her. And they got along just like God gave them from then on. But he brought them girls back to her. And she told us about them walking from Georgia to Shelbyville. Wow. She would tell about they stopped at the forks of the road or by the river. And she told that they sold away somebody. I never forgot what somebody's name was. And she never did see no more. And she would be, you could just feel the anger in her when she would be telling her, you know, that's all she ever talked about. She never got out of that era. And she died in 1956. But her name was Sally. Her real name was Sarah. Sarah King, but she ain't on none of those papers. But Daddy said that was his grandma's older sister. And that's all I know. But she lived in Timpson, and Daddy found her when we moved to Timpson. But she would tell about the old master. They had a bunch of cats. And they wanted them to kill them cats, and they were scared to kill cats. Because everybody told them it was bad luck. And they take his pine torches. Do y'all know what a pine torch is?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
A pine torch. It's a piece of wood. You light it, and tar comes out of it. And it's real, real hot. And they lit these pine torches and held them over their backs and let that hot stuff drip on them. And she was a cook. And when she got that hot bread out of the stove, she would put it in her bosom so she could take the little ones and home something to eat. And she had scars all up in her breast where she put that hot bread. So So see, we got a stubborn streak too. When we take the notion to do something, we do it. But I have to tell y'all something my daddy told me. And it's so true. He said, people ain't gonna do you right all the time. Your bosses ain't gonna do you right. He said, but when they tell you to do something, said you let them set the game. But then you put your head to it and beat them at it. And no matter what happens, make them think you having fun. Make them think you just enjoying every minute of it. So, you know.
That's what's up.
Dad was a real wise person. He used to talk to us all the time, tell us things. Me and him was sitting up one day watching TV. Richard Nixon was on there. And he looked at me and said, look at his mouth. See that his mouth coming down? That rascal can lie. But there's so many things he told me. And I run from a problem now. I stop and think about him. I stop and think about him. And he used to tell us, he said, y'all vote. That's your voice. Amen. If you don't vote, you lose your voice. You let somebody else speak for you. And it just tore me up the way they've done it this year. Got to have an ID to vote. But back to our history. Daddy, back in the 30s, I heard him say, he said, I got to get me a little piece of dirt, because I don't want no white man telling my kids what they gotta do. Now my dad didn't have no kind of education. He couldn't figure out to put 2 R's in his name. He would only write 1 R in his name. But he got out and bought a place. All right. Got out and bought a place we weren't paid for. Y'all let me tell you what we paid for, this don't blow your mind. His daddy had some cows, he bought a mule, we got a new house, a new barn, smokehouse, toilet, all of them things. $4,441.50 and 151 acres of land. And he said, I don't want no white man telling my kids what they got to do. And I met some woman used to live down the road from a red and white woman. She told Daddy one day, she says, I want you to make these kids come sweep my yard. He looked at her. He said, you ask them if they want to sweep your yard. And if they say yeah, I'll see if I'm going to let them. And it ain't been mentioned no more about no yard. But we had a great life as kids, though. We did. We was a lucky bunch of kids. Because I saw some stuff when I was a kid in other families. We were very lucky. Mom and Daddy always had time to play with us. No matter what happened, that's all right. They would always play with us. Now, I'm going to let her talk for me. But I'm still looking for a lot of stuff for us. I've got to get on the internet and do some work. I just didn't have time this time. But I found out where to look. I know where to look now. So, because see now, me and Bama was on that internet, and we followed George Williams back to Kentucky.
All right.
Now I got to vote on that, I got to see.
Okay.
But they say you can pay somebody to do that search for you. I got to look into that.
All right.
Because I know Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia is 3 of the states. I have to look.